Hello and welcome to Csit 206. Today we'll be talking about web application development. The learning outcomes for today, we'll be looking at how to send email using PHP. We'll also look at how to prepare a server to allow for uploaded files. We are also going to look at how to create an HTML form that supports uploaded files. Then we will handle uploaded files using PHP. We'll also explain the basics of JavaScript, and then we'll compare and contrast JavaScript and PHP. We'll look at how to use PHP and JavaScript together. We'll look at how to retrieve a list of files in a directory, and then we'll also see how to access information about an image. Then we'll look at how to identify the role that HTTP headers play in websites. We'll also manipulate HTTP headers using PHP. Then we'll work with some dates and times. Okay, so there's a function in PHP called mail. Now, this function is what we are going to use to send mails to others. Now, the function takes 4 arguments: the to, the subject, the body, and then the headers. Now, the headers is not compulsory, but you need to specify who you are sending it to, the subject, and also the body. So to send a mail, this is how we are going to do. We are going to do it. We are going to specify our 2 variables to be equal to whoever we want to send the mail to. The subject is going to hold the subject of that mail. And then the body is going to contain the body of our email. Then we are going to call the mail function and pass them the variables. There are some problems with emails. One thing which happens when you work with email is that you can't actually tell whether the person has received or read the email. Now, if it's not done properly also, it can be treated as spam by the recipient's mail system. You would also require a working mail server. Now, to handle file uploads, we need to configure PHP. Then we need to set up the server. The next thing we'll do is create the HTML form that is going to be used to upload these files. Then from there, we'll process the form to handle uploaded files. To handle file uploads, PHP needs to be configured. Now, there are some configurations that we need to set in the php.ini file. The first thing we need to do is to turn on file uploads. So the value for file uploads should be on. The next thing we need to do is to specify an upload temporary directory. Then also, we need to tell the maximum size of files that can be uploaded. Then also the maximum file uploads. Now, it's wise to always ensure that your uploaded files are outside your htdocs. Now, the htdocs is where your application resides in your XAMPP folder or your server. Now, in this particular diagram, you realize that our uploads folder is outside our htdocs. This ensures some level of security. Now, there's one thing that you must ensure about the upload folder. You have to make sure that the permissions are valid. Now, this is the sort of error you would receive if the file, there's no permission on the upload folder. So here, we are having an error which is telling us that permission has been denied. That means that you need to allow permission for PHP to now be able to upload to this folder. To be able to accept files onto your server, we need to prepare a form. Now, the form needs some basic characteristics. First, we need to ensure that we add an encoding type. Here, the value of the encoding type is the multipath, so we'll be able to upload files like PDFs, we'll be able to upload image files, and the likes. Over here, there are 3 main things that need to be set. The first one is the encoding type. The next one, we need to pass as a hidden input the maximum file size. And then the third one is an input of type file. This is what we are going to use to select the file we need to upload. Now, if this is run, this is how it's going to look like. So the input file is what's going to show up as choose file. When you select the file and then you hit submit, then because you have now encoded this file as multi-part, then it's going to send to the server and then you can access it. To access files in PHP, we are going to use the super global files. Now, this is going to give us some properties of the file that is being uploaded. The first one is the name that is going to tell us the original name of the file. The second one is the type, which is going to tell us the MIME type. Now, the MIME type represents the multi-purpose media extension. Now, this is going to tell us what type this file is. The next one is the size. So, using this super global, we can tell the size of the file that has been uploaded. And then the temporary name that has been generated for the file. So, when a file is uploaded, PHP is going to generate a temporary name for that file. And also, we are also going to have the original name. Now, this error is going to tell us if there was an error. To move a file now to the folder which you have specified for your upload, we are going to use the move uploaded file function. PHP offers us this function, and the parameters is going to take is the temporary file name and then the path to the destination file. Now, this path to the destination file should be the full path in a case where it's outside your htdocs. Then we are going to use search logic. Here we are saying if the file that has been uploaded exists, then we are going to move that file into the folder. Now, if that is successful, then we can print the file has been uploaded. If it's not successful, then move uploaded files is going to return false, and then we can process that. We'll now proceed to talk about JavaScript and PHP. Now, on the contrary to PHP, JavaScript is a client-side language. PHP is for server-side, and JavaScript is client-side. Now, everything in JavaScript is case-sensitive. But when it comes to PHP, our variables are case-sensitive, functions and language constructs are not. JavaScript is always object-oriented, and PHP can be procedural or object-oriented. Embedding JavaScript in our files is also quite trivial. All we need to do is to use the script tag, and between the two closing and opening and closing script tags, we are going to put our actual JavaScript code. If we want to include a JavaScript file, then this would be the syntax. Here what's happening is that we are specifying the source, which will contain a link to the file. Here the file is called sumfile.js. This means that this sumfile.js resides in the same file as our PHP script. We can proceed to write a JavaScript function. Now, this is a function that is going to help us display in a window an image. So what we see here is that we are passing the width of the image plus some margin, and then we are now popping up that image using the window.popup, and then we also want to resize that image. Now, if we now know how to write such a function in JavaScript, then it becomes trivial using PHP to now write out JavaScript. All we need to do is have our JavaScript written out and then either echo it or print it out into our file. Now, this is how it would look like if we echo out such JavaScript code. To get the size of images from PHP, we can use the getImageSize function. Now, the getImageSize function would give us the width. It would also give us the type and then the height. It would also give us the image data, and then we'll also be able to tell the MIME type. Now we'll proceed to talk about HTTP headers. Headers help us to communicate with our client browser. So in using headers, we are now able to send pieces of information to the client browser so that it would now process the page appropriately. To send a header, we would use the PHP header function. And between this closing brackets and opening brackets, we are going to pass the header in which the type of header we want to pass. Now we must call the header function before anything is sent to the web browser. If you try to pass or echo out something before calling the header function, this is the sort of warning that you can receive. In a case where we want to retrieve, let's say, a file, then we could have a file which is standing between the user's browser and then our upload folder. Now this PHP script is going to receive the request from the user, is going to process that request, go and fetch the image or file that the user is requesting for, and then respond back to the client browser with that image. This could be a snippet of code that would reside in the proxy script. Here you realize that the header function is being used to echo out the content type, the content disposition, and then the content length before actually echoing out the image itself. Now the user's browser would now feed on this information to process the image. To deal with date and time functions, we will need to set, before we proceed, the date zone or the time zone. Now to do that, we are going to use the PHP function date default time zone set. Now here we are going to set that this function by a particular parameter. Now parameters exist. You could set based on your location. Then after setting this, we now can call on the date function and pass in a format. Now the format would tell us how we want the date to be displayed. Here, when we pass in this format, we are going to have it display something like this: January 26, 2012. If we want to just echo out the time, then this is the format we are going to pass. And here the H represents the hour, and then we are saying that let's pass the hour and then the minutes. If we want to also echo out just the day, then the format would be D, and it's going to echo out Sat, which represents Saturday. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next slide.